The Shredder has been giving the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles a run for their money since the 80s. The armor first appeared in the very first issue of the TMNT comics by Mirage Studios, and man, it has stuck around. Whether it was Oroku Saki, the original Shredder, or a different villain donning the spiked helmet, but it was Lady Shredder who really shook things up in the TMNT universe. She was a character who was as complex as she was captivating. The first time she appeared in Image Comics, she was a figure of mystery and intrigue. As they say in the TMNT universe, every turtle needs a shell, but every shell needs a master. Lady Shredder was definitely a master of her destiny in her own right. So, folks, hang on tight. You'll thank me later. Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Jackson's nanotech gives birth to Lady Shredder. In issue 1 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Urban Legends, we see Master Splinter, the TMNT's sensei, having planned a birthday party for our favorite ninjas. However, before the candles were blown and the cake was cut, they were startled by a loud sound. Before the Ninja Turtles could actually come to their senses, Donnie was shot. Jeez. The party just got crazier. The villains make their entry. We see our faint, giant, futuristic-looking cyborg emerge from the smoke like characters from one's nightmare. And most definitely, they were there to party. Their message was loud and clear. They were here to cause trouble. Although the turtles were flying blind, they were not the ones to back down from a fight. And that too on their home turf. Never. Raphael is furious and launches himself at the cyborgs with his trusty sais. He vows vengeance for hurting Donnie and jabs a blow on a cyborg that rattles its circuits. However, the cyborgs started boasting about their self-repairing and enhancing capabilities, which meant no blow could harm them. The cyborgs are confident with their razzy tricks up their sleeves, but they're up against Raph, who won't let it go easily. He attacks the rejuvenative cyborg in all its fury and cuts his armor skull deep. The turtles manage to track down one of the cyborgs, but the atmosphere quickly turns serious when they hear a commanding voice. Enter Pimiko, a scantily dressed ninja. She storms in and instantly takes charge of the situation by capturing Splinter. She presses a blade against his throat and warns the turtles to keep their distance. Pimiko makes it clear that she is a ninja too, and won't think twice about ending Splinter's life if the turtles step out of line. Pimiko announces that they have what they came for, Splinter and a turtle. She commands the cyborgs to take their captives away, and the turtles helplessly watch the enemies take off with Splinter and Donnie in their chopper. Once inside the chopper, Pimiko instructs the cyborgs to secure their prisoners and declares that dead or alive, the prisoners will serve the Dragon Lord's plans. Suddenly, Donnie regains his senses and worries about Splinter's safety. He puts up a fight and tries to escape, thinking she can get another turtle anytime, which makes Donnie expendable. Pimiko jerks the chopper and pushes him along with the cyborg out of the helicopter. The turtles then navigate their sewers. They stumble upon the sight that surprises them, a ghostly image of Master Splinter. In this ethereal form, Splinter tells Leo to zip it up and listen. He shares that even though his body is unconscious, his spirit has managed to slip into the astral plane. Splinter gives the turtles the 411. Their captors are heading northwest and cutting through hilly and forested terrain. Also, Donnie was MIA. Splinter tells them that Donnie made a break for it after the chopper took off, but got badly hurt, and he lost his signal. Splinter then says his goodbyes and alerts his sons that his spirit is on thin ice, and he might have to pull the plug. The second issue opens with Donnie battling the cyborg in midair as they plummet to Earth. Meanwhile, the enemy helicopter lands at a grand old Japanese dojo, which happens to be the stronghold of the Dragon Lord, Lord Komodo. Pimiko and her crew lead Splinter to a room filled with cages and lock him up. Meanwhile, our turtle heroes, Leo, Raph, and Mikey, retreat from their previous sewer lair in fear that Pimiko might return with backup. They stumble upon an abandoned mausoleum and decide it is the perfect spot for their new headquarters. Leo tasks Mikey to scour the internet for intel on the Dragon Lord, while Raph is to use his Foot Clan connections to gather intel on Pimiko. Leo brings up that Pimiko is the name he recognizes from history, a sorceress who once ruled feudal Japan. Mikey confirms it. Leo advises Raph to be cautious and not to be followed back to their new base. Raph reassures Leo and ensures no one is gonna tail him. But little did the turtles know that one of Pimiko's ninjas had already found their new hideout and was relaying their every move back to her. Pimiko orders her spy to rally the troops and prepare for a raid on the turtles' new base. Meanwhile, in a state-of-the-art lab, Lord Komodo is overseeing an experiment on a subject referred to as the Weasel, strapped down on an operating table. The head scientist argues that the Weasel was just a mutant and not the complex hybrid that they were hunting for. Suddenly, the Weasel wakes up with a roar and attempts to attack the Dragon Lord. However, Pimiko steps in and swiftly beheads the mutant before he can cause any harm. Back at the mausoleum, Leo tries to contact Master Splinter via the astral plane. And boom, he was in, all zen and mantra spouting. But suddenly, he makes a connection with the lost Donnie on the astral plane. While Leo is in a deep trance, Mikey digs up information about Komodo Inc., which owned a whopping 300 acres of land upstate. Raph, on the other hand, finds out that Pimiko, a ninja with style, was in cahoots with Komodo. They're about to fill in Leo when yikes, shurikens start flying. It's Pimiko and her squad who have come back to take another turtle for their Dragon Lord and have brought the fight to their doorstep again. The first appearance of Lady Shredder. Raph, suited up in Shredder's fierce armor, is on the hunt for the last of the mob's goons. He wants names and gets one, Big Tony, the new head honcho of the New York's underworld. As Raph walks out, he is ambushed by foot soldiers who question his right to wear the Shredder's armor. The tension escalates and a soldier lunges but is taken down by Raph. The foot soldiers then see a leader in Raph and ask for his guidance. Although taken aback, Raph agrees, and now they're a team, off to settle the score with Big Tony. The scene then cuts to a serene park in New York where Splinter, who has mutated and now is a monstrous bat, swoops in and snatches a man's dog mid-play. He takes the poor pooch to the top of a skyscraper where the dog meets a tragic end. In the heart of Arkansas, our group of heroes, the ever-ready Vanguard and our beloved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, huddle by an old barn. We see cyborg armor on Donnie to keep him alive. Out of the blue, a pink alien blob called Lurch appears and fuses with Donnie's cyborg armor. The alien blob informs that Donnie might still be alive, and his spirit must be in the astral plane. The alien then zaps off before anybody can react to this new piece of information. Leo and Mikey discuss the gravity of the situation. Donnie's on the rope, and his self-repairing cyborg armor has gone to kaput. Time's ticking, and they know it. They've got to hustle and get Donnie to the spaceship if they want to pull him back from the brink. It was a race against time to snatch Donnie from the jaws of defeat. Raph, in Shredder's armor, reaches Big Tony's villa along with the foot soldiers. He informs the mob kingpin that he was there to wave a white flag and call it a truce. He had enough blood on his hands, and it was time to bury the hatchet. However, Shadow and Casey were off limits. Raph lays it out straight. Shadow belongs with the folk who have been her rock since day one, not with Tony's son, who ditched her mom when she needed him most. Big Tony has no choice but to accept the peace offering. Meanwhile, we see Master Splinter in the astral plane, who comes face to face with Donnie's astral form. Donnie informs Splinter that the warlord Komodo injected Splinter with synthetic mutagen, which made him feel like a bat, but he was actually a rat. He urges his sensei to snap out of it and help him reclaim his body, but Splinter is disoriented and doubts his real identity. The mutated mentor flies only to bump into Raph and the Foot Clan. Memories flood back. While Raph calls Splinter a friend, Splinter tries to attack him. Raph sheds his helmet and reveals his true face. But in the heat of the moment, Splinter's trident finds its mark. In the Foot Clan's lair, Honshu, a member of the clan and Raph's lieutenant, informs him that it is time for his fight with Pimiko. Raph doesn't wear the Shredder's armor for the duel and wants to take on Pimiko just as he is. In the Big Apple, the Foot Clan's top brass gather for a brawl that's going to decide who will lead the clan and carry on the Shredder's legacy. Pimiko wastes no time and launches a storm of shurikens that Raphael bats away with his trusty Sei. Raph's not one to take it lying down. He comes back at her with a swipe that's got her seeing red. A finger jab to the eye sends Pimiko off the rails. Her ponytail isn't just for show. It's got hooks that bite into Raph's shell, and she tosses him like a salad. She's ready to claim the win, but the council disagrees. If Raph's still breathing, the show must go on. Meanwhile, at Mikey's apartment, we see him with Horridus relaxing on the sofa, eyes glued to the television. They're watching Casey, April, and Little Shadow bask in the glory of the ticker tape parade. Casey is the hero of the hour for squashing sewer Komodo dragons. Over in Mobland, Anthony Puzzarelli, aka Big Tony, the big kahuna of crime and Shadow's granddad, spots her on the screen. He nudges his nephew Joey and tells him that they have a family reunion to crash. Back at the Foot HQ dojo, Pimiko is all set for the kill, but Raph's not going down so quickly. With a swift move, he rips out the kunai wedged in his arm and gives Pimiko's ponytail the chop. That's game, but the council's thirsty for blood. They want Pimiko out for good. Raph's not letting the council decide whose blood gets on his hands. Raph swings Pimiko's chopped off ponytail on the balcony and uses it to shimmy on up. But surprise, surprise, Raph gets a boot off the chest from a mysterious Lady Shredder. She's decked out in full villain chic and is eyeing the Shredder throne. Raph thinks it's Pimiko in disguise, but then she pops up just as clueless. The comic ends with both of them scratching their heads over who's behind the mask. Down in the dark sewers, we see Leo and Mikey sparring it out, ninja style, when Mikey's nunchuck sends Leo's bionic hand flying off like a rogue frisbee. Back at April's place, they fancy an exoskeleton bodysuit that Dr. Axe has been working on fixing his metal hand by using some living armor, but Leo's not up for it. He shows off his slick metal hand that pops out a sword. Think Captain Hook, but with a razor-sharp blade. On the other hand, there's a surprise birthday bash thrown for the Turtle Brothers. While Raph's absence is felt at the party, Splinter snidely hints that Raph's Foot Clan family still seems to be more important to him than his family. While the party was at its peak, Master Splinter suddenly collapsed on the floor. Dr. X, with his new robo-legs, zips over to check on him. Turns out, Splinter was into a deep, restless sleep. When he snaps out of it, he narrates all about his strange dream. He and Orokusaki, aka Shredder, were together against Raph and Pimiko. Right on cue, Pimiko bursts in and crashes the turtle's birthday party. Yet again, she's all out of breath and comes bearing urgent news. She and Raph were fighting with some new Shredder wannabe. Although she managed to get away, Raph was in the clutches of this imposter. The turtles are still skeptical about their apparent well-wisher, so Pimiko tells them the whole story. They were scraping for the top spot of the New York branch of the Foot Clan when this Lady Shredder crashed the party and took them both down. Pimiko plays the loyalty card and says she's got to return the favor to Raph for not sending her to Ninja Heaven. The turtles, without a second thought, suit up and roll out, ready to bring their brother back home. Pimiko leads the rooftop chase with Don, Mike, and Leo following her, and the turtles waste no time and quickly head dive into the fight. While Leo fights with Lady Shredder, he wounds her and gets the upper hand. Raph then has a face-off with Cheng, a member of the Foot Clan. Cheng comes clean that he has been siphoning Master Splinter's ninja mojo in the astral plane. Actually, Cheng's healing sessions were a front for a Life Force heist. With the Foot Clan losing the battle, Cheng and his foot cronies seize the moment and vanish into the night. Although Raph wanted to chase them down, Leo reminds him that they had a party to crash, their own birthday bash. They invite Pimiko to tag along, which she happily accepts. Raph and Pimiko hang back and soak up in the cityscape. Raph's got a question on his mind. What's her play? Family or feud? Let's do family, she says. And side by side, they set off to join the rest of the Shell Squad. Who she really is, fate of the Lady Shredder. Leo, Raph and Pimiko are out on the streets to find the mysterious Lady Shredder. Leo thinks that Karai is one calling the shots from behind the mask, especially since she has a history with a foot ninja. So they locate Karai's hideout back in the Big Apple. Leo makes a dramatic entrance through Karai's window, while Raph and Pimiko are left to deal with some foot ninjas who crashed their stakeout. Leo finds Karai, surprisingly enough, not plotting world dominance, but sitting in the shadows, a mom worried sick over her daughter Amai. As it turns out, Amai was still alive, just not in the way they thought. She was brain dead and on life support. Karai tells them that she has done with that life and has nothing to do with the Foot Clan. On the other hand, Donnie's deep in the astral plane where he finds Splinter, who looks worse than before. The Foot Clan's Cheng has been leeching off Splinter's mojo and has left him just a shadow of his former self. Pimiko is convinced that Karai is spinning a web of lies. Karai labels Pimiko as the forgotten offspring of Orokosaki, who is itching to fill Daddy's villainous shoes. Pimiko's temper flares, while her katana aims straight at Karai as she demands the Shredder armor. With a swift move, Karai sends Pimiko's weapon flying, only to catch it and hand it back with a slice of sass. Just when you think it can't get any wilder than this, Karai, to prove that she is out of the ninja chutzpah, calls in Warlord Komodo, Karai's previous master. Along with Komodo, Lady Shredder steps out from the shadows. The shit just hit the fan. Komodo tells how Pimiko betrayed not only her clan, but also her own blood. Pimiko's mom, Kujikiri, was Komodo's sister who ditched the ninja gig to play hit woman. Her target was Orokosaki, but the hit turned into a fling and Pimiko was born. Angry at ditching the clan, Komodo goes full ninja on Pimiko. Leo jumps in, but Lady Shredder hasn't come to play. Suddenly, her hand morphs into a hammer, which is when Leo pieces everything together. Lady Shredder wasn't just wearing a suit. Holy moly, she was the suit. Don's cyborg armor bid him goodbye when it thought that Don was gonna kick the bucket. It then latched onto Lurch, who had the ability to alter his DNA and become anyone and had no personality of his own, which made him easy to control. Donnie's nanotech then went rogue and developed its own AI. Whoa, that's some next-level mind-boggling cybernetic shit. Cut to the turtle's lair. We see Donnie wrestling with his rebellious armor, which seems to be dying on him. Instead, Dr. X tells him that he has been healing and that his shell had been growing under the armor. In fact, the armor, like a clingy X, does not let Donnie grow a shell and heal up. Back to Karai's home in New York, she comes across a familiar face, the face of her daughter, Amai, who is wearing Lady Shredder's armor. Astounded at the sight, the mother stands there frozen. Suddenly, Amai starts staring. But my oh my, it wasn't Amai at all. It was Lurch, an alien, who had taken Amai's appearance and had been on the bed. You see, Lurch's DNA was like a chameleon, constantly changing and dodging the nanities from Shredder's armor that tried to latch on. So the armor was on the hunt for someone more, let's say, accommodating. And who better than Amai, who was comatose and wouldn't put up a fuss. The nanities swarmed her and turned her into the ultimate puppet for their scheme. Lady Shredder in Amai's body orders to take down the turtles, but spare one for a rainy day. Karai's heart shattered into a million pieces as she watched and called out to her daughter in a desperate attempt to know if it really was her. But Lady Shredder shut Karai down and told her Amai no longer existed, and all that was left was a nanite brain who was running the show. Karai's world crumbled as she realized her daughter was gone and had been replaced by a swarm of high-tech nanobugs. Back at April's apartment, Splinter is up and running again, but boy, is he a hot mess of nerves. Leo and Donnie are there and sigh in relief upon seeing Splinter's return to his usual self. But Splinter's on a whole different wavelength. Think Freak Out City. He's running around all wide-eyed. He bumps into Dr. X, who is walking around in that hulking exoskeleton. Dr. X is all puzzled, but all Splinter wants to do is escape mode. Leo is watching this go down and thinks Splinter's stuck in some bad dream loop. He concludes that Splinter was not the sensei at all. I mean, it was Cheng, but in Splinter's body. The gang thinks the real Splinter might still be out there, and it is time for a rescue mission stat. The scene then cuts to a lab that screams future with gadgets and gizmos aplenty. And there's Cheng, in a tank like a sci-fi pickle, totally KO'd. Komodo informs Lady Shredder that although Cheng's human body is a prisoner, his consciousness is lost in the astral plane. Komodo suggests killing Cheng, but Lady Shredder has a full-blown plan in her mind. She doesn't want to waste a good minion when Lady Shredder might need a new body as a host, or when they need an inside man in Komodo's troop. Komodo also has plans to make an army of clones, cyborgs, and mutants alike, while they play mix and match with DNA like it's Play-Doh. We also see Karai as Cheng's neighbor in a stasis pod nearby. Back at the Turtles gathering, we see Donnie now free from his metal armor, thanks to our genius Dr. X. Raph, eager to take down Komodo, who's convinced Cheng's the golden ticket to find Komodo's HQ. So it's into the sewers they go, as Cheng in Splinter's body leads the way. Pimiko still has trust issues and wonders if Cheng could actually be trusted given his reputation. Well, you can't blame them, can you? The turtles, Pimiko and Dr. X crash Komodo's lair with their eyes peeled for the Foot Clan's traitors, who are now serving as Komodo's henchmen. Raph, Leo and Cheng tiptoe up the stairs, but whoops, busted. The Foot Clan's got them, and they have no other option but to fight head-on. Time to tango with the traitors. No more Mr. Nice Turtle. While Raph and Leo take down Komodo's lackeys, Cheng makes quite the exit. In a twist that no one saw coming, or maybe it was just me, Pimiko confronts Komodo and his monstrous reptilian brother. Since the mastiff reptile has Komodo's blood running through his veins, quite literally, since he was injected with Komodo's blood, it makes them family. Komodo orders the creature to kill Pimiko, but the creature's got a mind of its own, thanks to Pimiko's TLC back in the day. It so happens that Pimiko saved the creature's life and nursed him back to health in the sewers. So obviously, the creature has his priorities and loyalties straight, as it definitely was not with Komodo. Mockingly, the creature tells Komodo that it was not just Komodo's DNA that was injected through his veins, but also mutagen, which gave him the ability to control less than himself. The creature commands Komodo to bow before him and Pimiko, which Komodo unwillingly complies with, as he has no control over his actions anymore. Komodo eats humble pie right there on his knees. Pimiko calls out Komodo's weak Bushido spirit, and without Cheng or his lab lackey's antidote, Komodo stuck in the scaly skin, his former self as a reptile. The turtles waltz into the lab and are shocked to see the sea of cloning vats filled with green goo and bodies floating inside. Leo says it was Komodo, and Lady Shredder has been cloning and grafting. Suddenly, Leo's eyes catch a glimpse of a familiar face. It was Cheng. Without wasting a moment, Leo smashes Cheng out of his glassy prison. He spills out like a human waterfall, soaked and disoriented, but hey, he's breathing. He thanks his son for rescuing him. Surprised much? Wait, let me explain. Since Cheng resided in Splinter's body, similarly, Cheng's body was home to Splinter. Cheng, who was actually Splinter, attacks the fake Splinter and commands him to return to the astral plane and release his body. Cheng concentrates and suddenly collapses, and just like that, Splinter was back in his own furry skin, wise as ever, while Cheng lay lifeless, his consciousness lost in the astral plane. Lady Shredder makes a dramatic entry in all her glory. Clad in a powerful technological suit, she lands a heavy blow on Donnie. She taunts him that her technology has finally given up his weak body and claims to have saved Donnie's body after it was broken and smashed. However, Donnie reports and calls Lady Shredder a parasite and accuses her of stopping his body from healing. Lady Shredder argues that she made something out of nothing and criticizes Donnie for being weak and dependent on others. But now she has decided to end it for him. Raph intervenes and attacks her, which distracts Lady Shredder momentarily. Mike has a window of opportunity and delivers a powerful blow to Lady Shredder with his nunchucks. The blow damages Lady Shredder's armor and leaves her vulnerable, without Foot Clan to fight for her cause. Despite being cornered, she reveals her plan is still in motion and that she has the means to continue and multiply her forces. She stormed into the lab only to discover her worst fear come true. The cloning tank's empty and every single clone lifeless. Donnie breaks the news that Dr. X has used his cyborg immunity to prepare a vaccine that wiped out the clones for good. Fuming, Lady Shredder throws herself at the turtles and yelled that they had messed with the wrong AI. She was the future, and they were just living in the past. But the turtles had enough of her. Leo takes out a blue spray and zaps her with it, which knocks her out. The spray melts off the armor's cybernetic part and destroys it. With Lady Shredder no longer in the picture, all that was left was Amai's naked body on the floor. They glanced over at Amai and considered putting her back on life support to get her back on her feet, to which Master Splinter's melancholic answer that Amai was long gone. It was time to say goodbye and put her to rest finally. The turtles and Splinter then come across Karai in a pod, and as they discuss their next step, they come face to face with Komodo, and boy, was it intense. The turtles blame Komodo for dragging the name of mutants through the mud because of his actions, but Komodo is all calm and zen. He informs them that he no longer considers them his enemies, and asks Pimiko to vouch for him. Komodo starts morphing right before their eyes and sheds his human. Turns out his brother was playing a mad scientist. He was busy mixing mutagen with animal DNA and also took the real Komodo's place. But all was well in the world now, as the evil brother was dead. Komodo offers a proposition: Karai's safety if the turtles promise to stay out of his hair. The turtles exchange wary glances but agree. As Komodo reverts to his human form, he offers to call a limo for them. Splinter, ever the wise one, leaves it up to the turtles to label Komodo friend or foe. They shrug and hop into the limo, with Splinter cracking a joke about his first limo ride, an unexpected end to an unexpected wild day. And if you liked our content, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.